Welcome to Patty for Liberty. Today I want to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. Last week I talked about the affordable housing crisis from a libertarian perspective, and I got a lot of really great comments on it. So this week I want to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. I have a lot I want to say that I'm going to get into, but I first want to tell you why I'm making these videos on issues so much is because I don't want to create content that's just about what's going on in the Libertarian Party this week. I want my content to talk about issues and explain them from a libertarian point of view because I'm trying to reach millennial and Gen Z younger voters who use video, consume video content much more than they consume blog content or social media. And what I've discovered in my interaction on social media and also in conversations in my real life is that us older folks, us Gen Xers and up, we tend to be almost rude to younger voters. And I feel that if we don't start reaching them, they are all going to become socialists and Democrats because they are talking to younger voters. And I found the Libertarian Party when I was around the same age, and had I not been surrounded by really nice libertarians who helped me understand why they felt this way, I might not be a libertarian right now. So I'm trying to create high quality content on my channel. It is a work in progress, and I appreciate those of you who have subscribed to me. And I hope that if you watch this and get something out of it, you will subscribe and maybe watch some of my other videos and support me, because I am trying to help grow the Libertarian Party. So I wanted to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act this week because I saw a lot of misinformation shared on social media this week. In fact, I was one of the people sharing it. I had one of my posts, flagged from Facebook for fact-checking, and I didn't know why they fact-check it. So this weekend, I spent a lot of time reading on the Inflation Reduction Act, and I want to go over some of the misinformation, including some of what I've shared. And I've removed that because it's important to me that I provide accurate information. I think it does a disservice to libertarians for us to share false narratives. So one of the things that I will tell you about this bill is it's called the Inflation Reduction Act. I have no idea why the Democrats decided to call it Inflation Reduction Act, because there's no inflation reducing in this act. It's just a huge, big spending bill, spending and taxing bill. It does have a lot in there to help theoretically tackle climate change, but as far as reducing inflation, I don't see it. Get into a few things that I observed when I was reading on this, and also some of the misinformation I shared this week, not knowing everything. I'm going to make a conscious effort to fact check everything I share going forward, because it is important to me as a libertarian to provide accurate information and not just share what's going around Facebook just because it's funny or just because it's shocking or whatever. I want my information to be accurate. So one of the things I shared this week that's been floating around Facebook all week is that the IRS is going to spend, this bill is going to spend $80 billion, and we're going to now have 87,000 new IRS agents that are going to be coming for you. And I tried to find out where this number came from, because Facebook fact-checked me this week when I shared something about this 87,000 agents. So I went and read through the bill, and there was nothing in there about the IRS hiring 87,000 new agents or 87,000 new armed agents. There was information about spending money on IT and customer service and more agents, but not this 87,000 figure. So I'm like, where did this come from, and why are we sharing this? It came from a May 2021 Department of Treasury report that said that this spending would allow the IRS to hire 86,852 agents by 2031. So over 10 years, we will get to this 86,852 number that's floating around. However, this doesn't account for turnover and any of that. It's just where where they aim to be in 2031. And just for some perspective, last year they had 78,661 full-time equivalent positions in the IRS. So this is a fact check that I wanted to correct that libertarians have been sharing, because I think it does us a disservice to share inaccurate information, and I don't think it was necessary, because the $80 billion in spending alone should have been a share-worthy, shareable, like we're going to give the IRS $80 billion. That should have been sufficient. So what I want to discuss is why libertarians are concerned about us giving the IRS $80 billion for tax enforcement. This is supposed to create $124 billion in revenue, and the Democrats have been really vocal about trying to say that this IRS spending isn't going after you. It's going after those rich, greedy folks that cheat on their taxes. And I did a lot of research on this because I wanted to share good information. Why are libertarians concerned about the IRS spending $80 billion on tax enforcement? Well, a lot of you guys may just think, oh, libertarians say taxation is theft. We don't want to pay taxes at all. Well, that's certainly true for a lot of us. We don't want to spend the government taxing us for things that we didn't ask them to tax us, to spend money on things we don't think the government should be doing. But the bigger issue is you need to know who the IRS actually audits. The thing is, like I said, they present it as if they're going after these rich, greedy tax cheaters. But the IRS, who they actually audit are the poorest families. The IRS audits poorest families at a 5 times the rate of everyone else. And I have another stat that should concern you. 54% of all correspondence tax audits are targeting people with gross receipts of $25,000 or less that have also claimed an earned income credit. So who are they going after? They are going after not your W-2 employees. You'll hear this from all the Democrats discussing this, is well, you don't need to worry about it if you're a W-2 employee. They're not going to be taxing you. Who they're going after? They're going after the gig workers. If you've seen information, they're trying to get into our records for our Venmo, our Cash App, our PayPal. And this particularly affects millennials and Gen Zs. You guys are our gig generation. You guys are the ones on Fiverr and Upwork. These are the people they're targeting. If you're a single mom and you make $25,000 or less and you screw up on your taxes, that's who they're auditing. That's who they're going after. And you can research this on your own, and I hope that you will, to see where our concerns are coming from. They're not using this IRS budget primarily to go after rich tax cheats. Those people have attorneys and lawyers to get around these tax codes. Us people not making any money, I'm the one who's going to end up audited. So the other thing I want to get into in this bill is besides the misrepresentation on the IRS and how we've kind of gotten our facts wrong, is what this bill is actually doing. They present it like they have presented it as a climate change act, but they are also presenting it like it's an inflation reducing act, and there's nothing in there. They're just spending money, and you can't spend your way out of inflation. And there's nothing in there that is going to make our gas prices lower or our grocery bills lower. If anything, this bill is going to make everything cost more. So this bill has $369 billion budgeted for clean energy. And I'm sure that there are some Democrats that are excited that we're finally taking some action on climate change. And I do want to say that as a libertarian, I also agree we need to be working on climate change, but this is not how it's going to be accomplished. I think the free market is pushing us in that direction already, and that I trust the free market to do this better than our government. But this bill is spending $369 billion to invest in clean energy. It's investing $60 billion in clean manufacturing jobs. And one of the things that differentiates libertarians from Republicans and Democrats is that we don't believe the government should be in the business of investing and financing in companies. And when it comes to Republicans and Democrats, they both believe that the government should be creating jobs and investing in industries. It's just who they invest in that differs. In the Libertarian Party, we don't believe the government is a finance, it's not the bank for investing in cars or Wall Street or the clean energy industry. We're kind of fair and principled. Don't spend our money. Let the free market make these investments. And if they fail, they fail. And I'm going to, at some point, make a video explaining libertarians' view on capitalism, because there's a lot of people that hate capitalism right now. And I'm telling you, capitalism is your way out of poverty. And I want to get into that in future videos. So one of the things they're presenting in the bill is that this Inflation Reduction Bill is going to lower your energy bills by $500 to $1,000. They have it right there on their one sheet that explains what their emissions are in this bill, and you can see it shared on Democrat Facebook pages, that you're going to save $500 to $1,000 on your energy bills. I'm going to say this is totally not true or accurate. It is, what they are doing is they are providing tax credits for homeowners to make investments in energy efficient equipment. So like a energy efficient heat pump or solar panels. And I'm not sure what energy efficient equipment qualifies, but they're giving homeowners a tax credit for $500 to $1,200 to invest in a energy efficient heating system. And this is what's going to save you the $500 to $1,000 a year. But first you have to spend the money on this upgrade. And this is only a credit for homeowners. So if you're renting and your landlord's not investing in this, it's not going to do anything for your utility bills. You're still going to be paying the same amount. So there's no inflation reducing. You're not saving money at the pump. It's just a big investment in clean energy. That yes, we do need to be moving in that direction, but we need to be doing it strategically and wisely, and not so that we push inflation up so high that you can't afford to live. And one of the other credits is a $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles. And there's some stipulations on what this vehicle, like the batteries have to be made in the U.S., and I didn't write all of it down, but it's a $7,500 tax credit for electric vehicles. So I want to challenge Democrats who are really excited about this investment to explain to me how that's going to help you right now with inflation. If you cannot afford to put gas in your car, if you're not making any money at your job, how are you going to buy an electric car with or without a $7,500 tax credit? It's going to have no bearing on your circumstances right now. And if there is any reducing in inflation, it's going to be years down the road. And I highly doubt it's going to happen because we keep spending money and spending money and spending money. The other big thing that's in this bill that everyone's excited about is we're finally cracking down on those billion-dollar companies. And I'm not going to get into this too detailed because I don't have time, and I'm not a tax expert, but they're taxing our corporations at a 15% tax rate, and this is basically changing the tax law so people have to pay at least that minimum 15%. And it's supposed to create $222 billion in revenue. And where I'm concerned is that, and this is going to possibly sound like trickle-down economics and things that you guys, if you just see it from one point of view, may not understand why I feel this way. But what I've seen in my lifetime is that every time a company pays more in taxes, they bump up their prices to offset that. So, I've been arguing with my father since I was in high school about increasing minimum wage, because I sat there and watched it when I worked at McDonald's when I was 16 and they increased minimum wage. All the burgers went up like the next week. So what I suspect will happen if they collect this 15% from these billion-dollar corporations, that 15% extra expense in taxes will get passed on to us when we're shopping. So I don't think that is going to do anything for inflation. I think what it may do is pay for their extra spending, possibly, but it's not going to help us with inflation at all. So those were the big things I wanted to cover that were discussed in the Inflation Reduction Act. I don't see it reducing inflation at all. And I don't think we should be spending $80 billion more in IRS enforcement, nor in investing in industries. I'd really like your thoughts on what I had to say on the Inflation Reduction Act. Please leave me some comments on what you think about the IRS spending, the corporate taxes, and if you think this is going to do anything to reduce inflation. I'd really love your thoughts. And if you are a libertarian or just curious about the Libertarian Party, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. It is a work in progress, but I appreciate your comments, your thoughts, and your feedback.